We're going to begin tonight with something we don't see very often, a plane crash where everyone survives. It really was a remarkable scene outside of Houston when something went horribly wrong on takeoff. This private jet crashed through a fence before catching fire. And by the time emergency crews arrived, all 21 people miraculously had evacuated, including a 10-year-old. One first responder called it an awesome feeling to see everyone safe. Now, this private plane is capable of holding more than 100 people, but its owner reconfigured it to hold fewer passengers. Well, tonight, federal investigators will begin going through the charred remains of the jet to look for clues. CBS's Janet Shamlian is going to lead us off tonight from Waller County, Texas, with all this new information. Good evening, Janet.
Norah, good evening. CBS News has learned the NTSB team will be arriving here in just a couple of hours to lead the investigation. And unlike most plane crashes, they have a surviving crew and passengers to talk to.
It looked unsurvivable.
What you're seeing is what's left of an MD-87 aircraft. It's just the tail there.
A commuter-sized jet burning up in a field 30 miles west of downtown Houston.
Runway officer suspended at this time.
As firefighters raced to put out the flames, news came that was almost beyond belief. 21 people were on board and everyone survived. There were just 2 minor injuries.
The actual airplane rolled down the runway, struck an actual fence, and from there became disabled.
The 33-year-old jet, owned by Houston homebuilder J. Allen Kent, who was aboard, was cleared for takeoff but never got off the ground. 3 crew on board and 18 passengers, including a 10-year-old, headed to tonight's Astros-Red Sox playoff game in Boston.
A couple hours after the accident, I walked into the airport and found 10 or 15 of the passengers still inside and dressed in their Astros gear, waiting to talk to investigators.
First responders said they arrived to find an intense fire and shell-shocked passengers already off the aircraft.
They were very, very stunned, but they did all self-extricate. We can't tell you how they did that or in what method, and the plane was fully involved when we arrived.
The NTSB will take charge of investigating. Robert Sumwalt is its former chairman.
It could be that there was a warning light that came on in the cockpit right as the crew was preparing to take off. It could be a mechanical condition that would have prevented the aircraft from actually lifting off.
Billowing smoke could be seen for miles. Close up, the incredible reality that somehow no lives were lost.
This is a good day. This is actually a day of celebration for a lot of people.
After all they'd been through, the passengers I saw seemed surprisingly relaxed as they waited at the airport to offer their account to investigators. Norah.
A real miracle on the runway. Janet Shamlian, thank you.
We are following some breaking news at this hour out of Texas. We are getting some information about a plane crash there. Crews responding to the scene in a field in Brookshire, Texas. This is outside Houston, not far from the Houston Executive Airport. What we know at this point is that there were 21 people on board that plane, 18 passengers, 3 crew members. You're looking at some video now from when the crews first responded here, fire crews first responded. As we understand it from our affiliate in Dallas, this plane was taking off from that executive airport, 21 people on board in total. It had trouble apparently gaining altitude after takeoff and then crashed in this nearby field. As you can see, obviously a large fire, the fuselage here completely engulfed, and what remains, you can see there, the tail of the plane, the engines, it looks like are intact to some degree. As we understand, all 21 people on board this plane were able to get off. There may have been one minor injury as a result of the hard landing here before those folks were able to get off the plane. The Texas Department of Public Safety, the state agency that handles investigations along with the FAA and the NTSB, on scene here or headed to the scene to start investigating exactly what went wrong. But again, we can report at this point after a small actually, I don't know the exact size of the plane, but after this plane crash in Texas near Houston, 21 people on board, no one seriously hurt, no deaths to report here. Of course, we're going to continue to follow this. You can look for the latest details across the platforms of NBC News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Luckily, and we're thankful that all of the passengers and crew members were able to extract themselves. And that's when the first responders came in to go to work to extinguish the fire. So again, today is a good day for all, not only for the passengers and crew, but